which of course is why we emphasize the use of modelling. Why are crowd models so important? Well, that illustration there is the Love Parade ramp, which you can see between those Harris fence barriers. So there's a 10.59 metre gap. Therefore, there is a limit to the number of people that can proceed either up or down that ramp, which is 10.59 times 82. It's the European guidance standards and sets for this. The best you can hope for. 10.59 times 82 is, well, you also got to multiply it by 60, which would be 53,103 to get you people per hour, and yet their figures showed that they were expecting 149,000 people per hour. So it can handle 53,100. They're expecting 149,000. Do the maths. It's not going to work. Should have been identified in the planning phases. So we develop models because modelling risk leads to the discovery. With discovery, it leads to understanding, and with understanding comes control. So the fundamentals here is we look at the plan and establish what our throughputs are, then we can design safer environments. Now that's one aspect of what we do. The other thing is, of course, that the modelling gives us a very clear objective mathematical framework, because our language is very deficient in this area. And when we talk about a crowded space, these are just some of the words in English that can refer to different levels of density: packed, full, jam-packed, swarming, overpopulated. Now I often hear these in control rooms. People say, no, it's packed, it's chocker, it's full of the gunnels, it's overcrowded. But what does this mean? So how do we put context within these words? It's not a very good form of communication. So our language and words are vital. It can confuse communication. We often hear somebody say, it's heaving down here, or it's crushed down here. And of course everybody's attention is then drawn to that area, which now is a subject of debate and discussion and subjective overview. Very subjective, very emotive. For instance, crushed could mean busy or risk of death. And here's an example of what we mean by that. This was a local newspaper that described this as a packed high street. But a week later, it described the same incident, the same reporter, now as a full high street. And then in Christmas 2018, it was defined as a sea of people. So which of these is correct? Is it full, packed, sea? And you can see that there are different definitions from different points of view of how we might define that. I would have defined the earlier one as not very packed at all. But what is our language? How do we define those words? What is more insidious is that the word for safety and security is often the same word in different languages, so particularly in German, in Greek, and French. And I think I did a comment on this, and someone says, no, it's la security and le security. So you really need to understand that when you read the documents, when you look at the words, unless they have a differential concept, then the safety and security concepts are overlapping. We talk about a safety conference here, and yet there are several speakers that talk about counter-terrorism, which to me is a security element. There is an overlap between safety and security. But fundamentally, we're looking for safety as a planning tool. Now, John Jury et al. Have done some fantastic work on this and recently just published a paper on a glossary for research in human dynamics to try and define some of the words that we should be using. Again, that's well worth reviewing, downloading, and getting to grips with understanding exactly how we should be using language to define situations. Now, that's from an academic perspective. My concern is more about the operational overview. How do we use these words to convey risk in an operational environment? And you'll see some of the techniques we do are language independent. We use graphics to illustrate environments, simpler techniques to try and convey risks so that we're not actually using words, and therefore a far more universally understood method of communicating risk, both in planning and in control room environments.